hard transition. Rider battle number 2 for this episode. Fabio versus Maverick Vinales. So I think the main talking point here, a lot of people have been asking about the seats that are up for grabs and who's if Cal's going to be done. Cal's not done. He's got a contract through 2020 because he got an extension from HRC.
He's still be done.
No, he's not done. He's not done. They're going to pay him the big bucks to be a test rider and to fix the front end feel issues.
Sweaty as fuck right
We're not going to talk about that.
Take it off, girl. Take it off, girl. Yeah.
I mean, we're now getting into speculative, we'll find out in a year territory about who's going to take this contract. So, Fabio versus Mav. Does Fabio take Mav's seat after the 2020 season?
I have an interesting statistic about Fabio that Petronas SRT released, which is that dude, from the first time he swung a leg over a MotoGP bike until the end of Le Mans and then the test in which he was fast, has not crashed once. Not only has that guy not crashed once, one time, test, practice, race, qualifying, FP, none of that. He's never crashed. You know how many laps he's pulled, Rob? 1,234.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. What in the fuck?
It's really easy to remember.
Damn. Wait, I thought he crashed
He's
one time.
He's basically Azor Ahai. He is the prince who was promised.
I thought he crashed one time at the Valencia test. One time.
That's what they said. He hasn't put a crash. He hasn't crashed the bike once.
Oh, not at all. Oh.
Right.
Oh, hot damn.
Hot damn, son. He stalled that thing. Stalled it like a motherfucker. But he has not crashed it.
It didn't crash.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't count.
And Mir has already botched a warm-up lap and a stall and or not a stall and a start.
Who?
And
who's that guy?
Mir. No, we're not going to talk about it.
Who?
It's okay.
He's already done.
Yeah, he's not done. He'll pull a Rins and sit there for 3 years.
I'll bet everything I've got. He won't do shit.
Okay, no. Back to the topic at hand here. Back to the topic at hand. So we're talking Fabio versus Mav. So once again, we have a factory rider versus a satellite rider. I would say arguably Petronas SRT Yamaha seems to have better funding than factory Yamaha because they're doing some amazing things here. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Dinosaur blood.
Yes, that kind of.
A guy who lives on a steady diet of horse meat, son, and shark cartilage.
Dinosaur blood, bro.
Right, exactly. Horse meat's how you get that.
Yeah, I mean, I joked about it when Mav got that podium that we hadn't even seen him on a podium. I almost forgot what he actually looked like without his helmet on, and that kind of puts him in an obscure category. So it's kind of like, well, maybe Fabio with all the press and the PR and the fact that he's doing it. I mean, if I was a team boss, I'd be picking Fabio.
Well, and he rolls up to Le Mans like the largest pressure he's going to face probably this entire season off of a round where he was doing amazing, kind of almost set for a podium, has a mechanical, doesn't do it, shows up here, gets an average result for him, but choked. Still a solid.
He did kind of choke.
I mean, he did choke, but he still finished the race in 8th.
And then he was shitty in qualifying, and then that's why. But he had I think he had one of the top times in the race itself.
Wait, sorry,
I meant if he'd been top 5, he would have actually been on the podium.
I meant Quartararo. I agree that Vinales choked entirely.
Oh, well, no. We're both talking Fabio. Fabio.
Oh, okay.
Didn't do well in qualifying, and since he started mid pack, he to the.
Yes, So I mean, they both choked, but I would say that Mav choked more.
Oh yeah, for what he should be doing, for sure.
And that's really the great problem with Mav, what he should be doing, expectations. I sometimes wonder if winning those first 3 of 4 and just assuming he was in it for the title and now his whole they're talking wow man he's basically out of the title hunt. I'm like, yo, why were you just assuming he was in it? There's this idea that Mav should be fighting for the title. But realistically, that's a flawed idea. It doesn't exist. And he had a fantastic first 5 races, and then from there it completely fell off. But I wonder if that's just colored his whole mindset.
The Jack Miller effect.
Right. There's a lot of evidence that if your baby is born into a nutrient-rich environment, its metabolism is set faster. right? Or if it's born into a nutrient deficient environment, like human babies and a lot of mammal babies, mammal offspring, if they're born into a nutrient deficient environment, will have slower metabolisms because it's under the assumption it's born into a nutrient deficient environment, so it must maintain that. This is a lot of topics about why, like, maybe children in poverty have more obesity early on, when lifestyle choices haven't happened. There's a lot of science behind this, and then this is one of the reasons why women should actively indulge their cravings when they're pregnant.
Bring it back around.
Bring it back around. Hold on. Deep. Hold on. The idea being, Mav was brought into an environment with certain expectations, and then the environment completely changed. 100% changed, right? So that's the problem. You're born into an environment, if you're poor or nutrient deficient, and then you suddenly add a bunch of calories and you have a problem, right? Because your body's naturally storing those calories, you have obesity issues. Or maybe you're born into a nutrient-rich environment, then you have famine and you have a major problem. But Maverick is born into an environment in GP where he is on a championship-threatening bike like that, and he proves it. He wins 3 of the first 5 races. He's looking untouchable.
Instant feedback. Yeah.
Instant feedback. Everything's great. Blah, 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 blah. He can't escape the situation that he started with, and the paradigm in which he started with.
He's got all sorts of adversity, right? I mean, he's had lots of time to figure it out too, and he just still keeps
adversity.
Well,
like he has kind of, I mean, being in the top 3 factory teams, right? Like adversity is I wouldn't use that word.
This is your segue to what we were talking about even before we started, was the satellite versus the factory, and just the fact that Yamaha tried to do a big reset years ago and it clearly. So I mean, just the Yamaha's not where it needs to be. You can use Mav as your scapegoat,
right? But what do you say about
nobody's
adversity?
Winning on it?
I think Rob's point and your point kind of mix, like adversity, quote unquote, right? Like his adversity is he can't fight for the title.
Correct. Yes.
Where other than 3 other guys, Valentino, Dovi, and Jorge, not. Other than those guys, the idea that I can't fight for the title doesn't even come into anyone else's brain. Like, Carroll, right? Like Carl, like he's looking for like just decent point scoring results.
Right.
There's a lot of guys out there. We're talking about Giacomo Petrucci. These guys are just looking to keep their seat or just take one step further.
They're looking for podiums.
Mav's
looking for points.
Mav's adversity is that he can't get himself into a position where he can consistently fight for wins. And that's a level of what we would call adversity. That's the way tip of the fucking pyramid for GP racing. But I think that this is so far in his head because he was there for a split second. He saw the light. He saw that I can beat Marquez. I can be untouchable. I know what it feels like to be untouchable. And now I'm so far from there. Like, it's the Zarco effect. Like, in a few minutes, we're going to talk about Pole getting 6th on the KTM, while Zarco, remember, Pole Espargaro never fucking podiumed on the Tech 3 bike because Zarco got a shitload of podiums and a couple pole positions, and yet what is Zarco doing? 15th, 15th, 13th, 14th, because his level of where he expects to be is, if happiness is expectation meeting reality, Maverick Vinales, despite being in a position that nearly every other rider in the entirety of motorcycle racing wants to be, that's not enough for him because his expectation and reality aren't meeting, and it's totally fucking with him.
And it's 2 steps removed, right? Like he's not 1 step below his expectation. The first step below is fighting for wins, but not the title. The next step below is barely fighting for wins.
Right. He watched The Wire season 1 and then watched The Wire season 2 and like, what's going on?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because the expectation we always had is that Yamaha too. Now the Yamaha is arguably somewhere in 3-4, right? So Rossi's still doing okay, but they're not. The wins, you have to have wins, and they haven't been winning in a long.
Suzuki got as many wins in the last year and a half as Yamaha does.
Yeah.
Oh God,
that's scary.
Again.
would we collectively agree that maybe Suzuki is really the number 3 team right now?
I tied for 3rd.
Right now?
Right now? No. Yeah. Yes. Maybe.
If the question is what bike would you rather be on right now, so we could say maybe they're tied, but if I were to ask myself right now, if I was a rider, if I was Mav or Valentino or Jorge, and I'm saying who would I want to go, the one
If I was Jorge.
The one thing you could say, my neck would be expertly warm with a scarf tied in a perfect knot. The main problem that I could argue with Ev agree with Ev. Where he's trying to get to is that the Suzuki is better. You know why? Suzuki's on an upward trend. What has Yamaha been doing for 3 years? Just circling, man. Just treading water.
Holding pattern, yeah.
Not even holding pattern, man, because they're trying. They are not actively in a holding pattern. They are treading water, just trying to stay afloat. Whereas Suzuki seems to be making conscious improvement.
Yeah, Suzuki. No, whatever. I mean, that's getting a little off topic there.
Right, guys, because if we're talking about whether ants come out of your soda or how good Suzuki is on this MotoGP podcast, that's off topic.
No. I think it's really interesting, right? You've got some of the top talent potentially squandering it on the factory Yamaha, and it's not what it used to be. And yet
holy shit! You just said squandering talent on the factory Yamaha. Have we hit a new low?
That's my point. If you're a top talent, are you signing up for that?
I mean, they have the budget. They have the previous results. Like you don't bet against those results. Or those previous results.
I'm not betting for them.
I agree. Yeah, I know.
Marquez isn't leaving Honda to go there to get the second manufacturer title. He's going either Ducati or Suzuki if he's going to make a run.
Right. This is true. Right. Or KTM for that Red Bull money.
That $200 million Red Bull money.
Yeah. Well, the whole series probably isn't even $200 million. That's so good.
No, wasn't it? No, Red Bull. It was $200 million over like 6 years or something, right?
It was like $200 million over $250 million over 5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're invested like $50 million a year consistently.
Yeah. So Marquez takes 30 a year and is 3 times more paid than anyone else in this series.
Right. And I don't even, and this goes back to the thing I was talking about. I don't even really want to talk about like Yamaha and their woes. We've been circling the drain on this forever. It's not even fun. Like, I'm so over the complaining and the shit talking.
All right. Like so dope then. So let's go.
Only dope, son.
Fabio, Petronas. So Petronas comes into the series.
Handsome, tatted, young, fast, new team.
We love it.
Paint scheme looks
soaking
good.
That shit up.
Handles the pressure.
The ombre, the fade.
Laughs, just having a good
fucking
time.
Fade. His undercut is so tight.
Oh, I meant the paint job, but that hurts too.
No, his fucking hair, the fade. He gets that shit cut like every 34 hours.
Well, so Petronas comes into this series, right? Or SRT comes in without a major sponsor in the beginning, and we're thinking like, oh man, they're gonna take like half the season or the whole season to kind of get up to speed. We don't know who their technicians are because Tech 3 has taken all their technicians over to KTM, right? Like, what support are they gonna get from Yamaha? They get Petronas. Petronas comes in. It really seems like there was just bills flying everywhere.
Dude, big dick energy.
Fabio and Morbidelli get the latest Yamaha M1, and this is what we see, right? Like, even Morbidelli's results are just they're there. They're beyond what I would expect for a new-ish satellite rider on a brand new team on a bike he's never ridden before. Then we have Quartararo doing exceptional things.
Have you heard of them? So the one cool thing that satellite teams sometimes do is they can actually deviate from the factory development. Have you heard of them doing anything to go and make their own way to give them a performance advantage over them?
I've never heard
you're telling me on top of being fast and young and cool and handsome with a good-looking bike and dope, he's a deviant? Fuck.
Innovative.
He's like a Nune 2.0.
Innovative deviant.
Okay.
After hearing that Ben Spies story about how his crew chief wanted to like add 5 mil to the shock length and the Yamaha engineers were like, no, you get half a mil.
Yeah.
I don't.
Tom Houseworth.
Yeah, I don't. That's what his name. I couldn't remember. I don't believe that there is any deviation whatsoever. They can.
Tom, if you're listening, let us know.
I'm sure they're deviating with the electronic setup, right? But like deviating from last year, right? I'm sure that Yamaha has found something new. They're providing strategies to and tables and values and stuff to help them perform better this year on last year's bike, or I'm sorry, on the bike that was built at the very beginning of the year for Yamaha. But I don't think that they're exploring completely different avenues for setup. Like they'll run different spring rates, but they run quarter rate changes. They run slightly different ride heights, but
no satellite salad boxes or
no, and they're not gonna they're not gonna fucking
speed up the mix.
They're not gonna put carbon fiber covers on their frame because they made them themselves or got like FTR or speed up to make them. We're not gonna see any of that. Like the Petronas bikes. Boys. The Petronas bikes just got the new Aero kit, which is way faster than we've ever seen a Satellite M1 get upgrades throughout the season. That's kind of the only upgrade that's happened. Rossi's already talking about how Yamaha has restructured and is already working on the 2020 bike. But the Petronas bikes, they're going to stay exactly the same as they are. Like maybe they'll get a chassis like 3/4 of the way through the year if it's confirmed.
I'm not entirely convinced of this because one thing that we know is this sport. There's two things that we know. It's a branding exercise, and that a lot of the traditionally popular markets are what we refer to as a mature market or a not growing market, while emerging markets. You're talking about a massive outside the industry Malaysian sponsor that is big dick swinging influence on the fucking
I wouldn't
series.
call them
I'm pretty
outside because
in the sense it's not a specific motorcycle brand. They're
correct, but they're
an oil conglomerate that wields a hell of a lot of influence.
Whoa.
It's okay. He'll come back.
What?
No, but so you just
got
your connection slowed down.
What happened? It was really cool, actually.
No, but so the thing is, right? Petronas is like they're winning.
Flew over their fucking drone spying on me.
They're sponsoring the team that is winning this series that shall not be named and have done so for many, many years, right?
Formula Voldemort.
They're as like for being outside of the industry, as in like not cycle gear or not selling motorcycle stuff in any way, shape, or form. They're as close as you can get to that line,
dude. It's the Disney movie Cars. Okay, they've got the Dino company takes over.
Oh, Dynacorp.
Dynacorp.
Yeah.
Dyno Oil. What the hell is it fucking called? Anyway.
Dynacorp. Yeah, but they didn't take over. They he rejected them. I go to movies to see animated
they still
features.
Dominated.
Yeah, no, they still dominated. It happens.
Dino blood.
No, I mean, so I think the thing that we're gonna see out of Petronas is more of the same, right? There's that old adage that you can stop a fast guy from crashing, but you can't make a slow guy fast. And Quartararo is pretty much showing us that he is the fast talent. He needs to rein in his tire wear. He needs to make sure that his team doesn't strip out nuts and break things for him. And then he's going to get some solid results. Is he going to podium this year? Is he going to be battling with Petrucci and Miller for that last spot on the podium? It might happen, right? He dealt with the pressure this race at Le Mans. He had a what is an average result for him. He made up. Actually, he didn't make up any ground on Morbidelli.
Let's be honest. They're gonna do well here and there. They're not gonna be consistent. They've clearly got it figured out, but they're not gonna be consistent.
And I wouldn't expect that from a brand new team in MotoGP, right?
We didn't expect this.
Yeah,
that's what's so awesome about it. Like when Fabio signed, everyone's like, "What? Fabio? Right? Fabio, they were surprised.
Long hair, blonde?
Right, and then Petronas was like, at the last second we're just gonna start a team. Like this goes back to the whole storyline thing. It's this brand new, awesome, fun thing to talk about with so much potential.
You know what I mean?
Like
swagger.
There's so much exactly with two swaggy boys. You know what I mean? But like.
Jerry Curl and Clean Cut Fabio.
And right, exactly. They're covering all the whole paradigm. But for me, it's such an interesting thing to talk about because when was the last time we saw a new team burst on the scene this powerfully? And I think it's kind of changing how you view the satellite Yamahas. It was almost kind of like, wow, the satellite Yamahas are just like, they were so stagnant for so long.
Well, yeah, because we had Bradley and Pole in there for an inordinate amount of time. Like, they were never going to compare to the Dovey Crutchlow era of Tech 3.
That was their heyday.
That was what was up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, even Ben Spies getting some podiums, getting poles. That was when it started. If y'all want to know when it started, I can tell you that when the term was coined. But, like...
the bro down.
Exactly. The bro downs were happening. 2013, man. The bro downs were just so good. But for me, it's such an interesting story in terms of, like, from so many aspects. The rider, the team, the interesting intrigue with Yamaha, and the kind of inter-team politics. I'm just really, really stoked that this team is going. One hand is like, man, I wish Danny Pedrosa had signed on because that would have been so cool. But on the other hand, they're both doing so good and so interesting in rock that I'm just like, you know what? This is great. This is one of my favorite aspects of this year.
Well, you like love it. That one hand about Danny Pedrosa is not a high priority though, because we generally favor that upside. Right?
Yeah, right.
So Fabio Morbidelli, huge upside. Like, if their talent comes to fruition on this team, it's going to add so much excitement to the series. It already is adding a ridiculous amount of excitement for what has been a lackluster Tech 3 team for the past couple of years.
But they need a new Rossi, right? Like, it was funny. I was explaining the weekend, and they really have a problem because nobody has personality, nobody has swagger, nobody has charisma like Rossi has. And guys, like it or not, he's going soon, whether it's this year, next year, or the year after. Fine, 2, 3, but they need to start developing somebody now, and it's one of these two guys.
I've always questioned if anyone could be developed to be like Rossi Jr. or Mini Rossi.
You can't make
while he's still there. Ooh, but that's getting off the point,
right?
That's a
great question.
You think about it. Maybe we'll get to it at the very end of the episode. Okay. So one last point on this one. One last point on this one. Are we done with Mav? Like we've had that like pipe dream of a Maverick Marquez battle for the longest time. Like instead of Dovey duking it out with Marquez, we wanted Mav doing it, and we wanted him doing it for 2-3 years.
Kev, you mind if I go first?
We wanted him doing it for 2-3 years. Title of Rob Sextape.
You mind if I go first?
Title of Rob Sextape.
Go ahead.
I am done with Mav on a Yamaha. I would like to see him either get on a Ducati, get on the other Honda, or go back to Suzuki where he knew.
That'd be interesting if he went. I'd be intrigued if he went back to Suzuki. I don't need to see him on a Ducati.
But I'd like to. I think
they won't, because they're not going to get rid of Rins, and Mir's on that long ass contract. They signed that 3-year contract specifically because what Mav did. Am I done with Mav? I don't know, because I think the bike legitimately has issues. But I mean, I don't. You guys talk about. I'm so over talking about that whole situation. It doesn't like interest me at all. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly why we're all actually over. It's just
Mav is. Maverick Vinales, Yamaha, and Rossi and their struggle is the Dorn of like the last season and a half.
He's Jon Snow.
He's
Jon Snow.
No,
he's
Jon
not.
Snow was interesting.
No.
Dorn, he's Dorn. He was Oberyn Martell for like a quick second. He was super awesome, and then Mark Marquez grabbed him by the fucking skull and smashed his eyes out. Right,
and he did.
And then he did.
Yeah.
He's gone. No one cares. And the Dorn storyline sucks. The Mav Yamaha Rossi storyline sucks. I don't care.
So he'll pop back up in a random episode at the very end, and then we'll be done with him.
And then be done with it. I don't even care about that stuff. There's so much more cool stuff to care about.
Yeah, he's lost top tier. What are we gonna do? We're gonna not talk about him anymore.
We're gonna move on.
So prediction then. Prediction for the following round. Who qualifies better, Mav or Fabio?
Fabio.
God, why? These are stupid, easy questions.
I only care about Fabio. The question for me is, I don't even know who you're talking about, because that storyline doesn't exist for me. So you said who's going to qualify better, Fabio or To be decided.
Didn't even hear another name.
I don't even know who you're talking about. Guy doesn't even exist. I only exist to discuss things that are dope. Dopeness is all that I care about. The whole like complaint culture thing and talking about Debbie Downer stuff is done, right? Like, and that shit peaked in 2019, and I'm officially over it. You know what happens when you complain a whole bunch? You know what happens when you complain a whole bunch? Your fucking cortisol shoots out because complaining is stressful, and in stressful, you're in a fight or flight situation. Your cortisol shoots out, your blood pressure raises, your fucking blood sugar goes high. It's terrible for your health. Yo, everyone on Facebook and Instagram complaining about shit that doesn't matter. It's terrible to complain.
You're going to die early.
Addictive on top of it. You are going to be fatter, less healthy, and die early because you enjoy complaining. I only enjoy talking about awesome shit. You know what was awesome? So many other things. Like Pole just randomly getting 6th out of nowhere after fucking everyone threw hella shade on the KTM boss for saying we're sticking with our trellis frame and Zarco's too slow. And everyone's like, blah, 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 blah. And Pole's like, hold my beer, 6th place, bitch.
Watch this.